If you want to become fluent or proficient with English, you need to be able to think with English grammar. In this video, I'm going to share 7 tips that will help you get to a place where you're thinking in English with all of the grammar. First, we need to do some preparation. Number 1, vocabulary comes first. You can't think in grammar unless you've got the vocabulary to go with it, because vocabulary contains the real meaning of English. So you have to make sure you have enough words that you can connect the grammar with before you start thinking in English. If you're around a B1 or B2 level, then make sure that you know all of the words in the Oxford 3000 word list, because these 3000 words contain 95% of the words native English speakers use when they're speaking fluently. If you're at a higher level, take it further than that still. But this is the first step. Build your grammar. Number 2, get lots of comprehensible input. Comprehensible input means the input you receive from reading and listening that's comprehensible. In other words, language that's at the level you are currently at. But to improve with your English and your English thinking, make sure that it's comprehensible input +1. The +1 represents a 1 level higher than you are currently at. So if you're at a B1 level, practice reading and listening at B2. If you're at B2 level, C1. If you're at a C1 level, reading and listening needs to be at C2 to stretch your thinking to a higher level. Here are some resources that I think may help you. There's a website called lo.org, which has listenings that are graded between A1 and C1. For reading, readlistenlearn.net has some excellent graded reading texts that you can use, which you know are at the right level. I'm not being paid to mention these websites. They're just websites that I think will be really useful for you if you want to try comprehensible input +1. If you're at a higher level than that, C1 progressing to C2, I recommend that you use native level texts. But follow your interests. Make sure it's something that you're interested in already, because that will motivate you to carry on. Number 3, change the language of your devices to English. Your smartphone, your laptop, your smartwatch. Turn the language to English, and then you'll find that you're constantly being confronted with English all of the time. Your habits will convert into English. I recommend that you do this if you're at the B2 level or above. If you're B1 or below, it will probably give you a headache after a while. Now that we've done the preparation, you can focus on thinking to do with English grammar. So step 4 is this. Think about common actions in chunks. What do you do every day? Get up. Brush your teeth. Maybe you drive in your car to work. These are things that you do every day. And if you start thinking about these as you were doing them, then your English thinking is going to improve. So report your activities to yourself in your head as you are doing them. And think about the grammar that goes into these things. I wake up every day at 6 a.m. We use the present simple for routines. I'm brushing my teeth. It's an activity I'm doing now. My friend drove me to work this morning. Or perhaps as you're stepping out of the car, you can think to yourself, my friend has driven me to work this morning. You see how we can get the grammar in and we can actually plan the grammar we're going to use. But the key thing is that you're using everyday routine things that you do. Why? Because this is easy. You don't have to create a situation. You simply think to yourself as you're going along, being prompted by what you do. It may be useful to have some reminders that tell you to do it, maybe on your phone, something that reminds you to think in English about your daily routine at a particular time, or put some notes around the room that you're in that remind you to do it. but it's a really useful step. It just takes small bits of English with a small bit of grammar, and it starts to train you to think in English. Step 5 is revise a grammar point, then do the exercises in your head. We're familiar, of course, as students of a language, to read textbooks in English that give us grammar information. And then we have to do some exercises, maybe a gap fill, complete a sentence, write a whole sentence. But normally we are expected to do these with writing. So why don't you try not writing? Read the exercise and think about the answer for yourself in your head. And you're training yourself to think in English by doing that. Number 6, shadow examples of English in your head. It's quite common on YouTube to come across videos where you're encouraged to shadow. You listen to what someone says and then you repeat it by speaking. But you could take this one step further and not speak. Hear what they say and then repeat it in your head. So you're doing all of the speaking just in your thinking, which trains you to start thinking in your mind. Number 7, have a 5-minute conversation with yourself every day in your head. And this is where things turn around. If you can do this, then you truly are an English thinker as well as an English speaker. And English thinking, as we know, is a step towards fluency and proficiency. So start with simple grammar in your 5-minute conversation. Don't make it too complicated. Don't put yourself under pressure to use all kinds of complex grammatical structures. You could just start with the present simple or the past simple. But then every day that you continue to do this, every new day, add a new structure of grammar deliberately. You could use a course like mine, Perfect English Grammar, which I'll tell you more about later in this video, which has hundreds of grammar points. And every day you could add a new grammar point into your thinking, deliberately create a situation that means that you can think about that part of English in your head. And bit by bit over the weeks and months, because it doesn't happen instantly, you will start to think about English in every way in your head. And finally, number 8. It's not always in this order. It may have looked like I've presented this video as if you have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in that order. Well, yes, that can be a good order, but in real life, it's more like this. You may go from 1 to 3 to 5, back to 2, then to 4. You don't have to do them in this order. You can do them all bit by bit. Yes, the vocabulary needs to be built ahead of the grammar. But don't wait until you've finished learning all of the vocabulary before you start trying to think with grammar. Focus on the vocabulary, but also build up your grammar thinking at the same time. So don't think of it as being a tight structure. You can go around this circle, you can go across this circle, but make sure you're doing all of these 7 things. And to help you on your journey to become a better thinker in English, I've got 2 courses that I recommend. Firstly, an advanced English vocabulary course, which will be really good if you're around the C1 level. And that will teach you more English words than you've known before to expand your knowledge so you've got words to think about. And also my Perfect English Grammar course that contains all of the grammar of English that you need in order to communicate fluently, all the way from A1 level right to the end at C2 level. And there's a link to both of these courses in the description if you want to know more.